hold up, I'm stupid. Um, I'm gonna be
You,
one. He's
you
gonna be
cannot
two. This should be fine. What do you want to
we
start on
cannot do
specifically?
1 and 2 because there are cards that are 1 and 2.
Oh shoot. I'm gonna be green. He's gonna be blue. That's awesome. Same thing.
All right, cool. I'm blue.
That should be
Hi guys,
fine.
I'm blue.
Yo, what's up? My name's Green, like Green FN. Anyways, so what do you want to go over first? Like different values and
Okay,
how those work, or like the overall theme of the game?
overall, I think it's really interesting to discuss our overall design philosophies, right? To discuss the different overall design philosophies. Cause I mean, like you've made more cards than me. You've made more protocols than me. I'm gonna be real. But
Yeah.
how about you go first with like what you think of like what do you aim for in a protocol?
Um. Well, of course, like honestly, what I start out with is pretty basic. It's just I have my title for it. I have my little like flavor text, and then I really think of like the theming that's all going to bring together, right? So like fusion. This is why I have the doc open. It's convenient. Fusion. I'm like, okay, bring it together as one. What does that mean? How is that going to be? How is that going to be different from other stuff, right? Because you don't want it to be like so similar. It's just another a protocol that already exists. Um, fusion specifically was like it's going to come into this line, um, but not have kind of the same thing as gravity. It's going to be a little bit different. Um, I think how I did that was mostly like there's a bit more flipping and kind of a more unique spin on what happens when it gets to that line as opposed to just getting it to that line. So that one is a bit hard to do, but here, what's another good example? Like avarice, like hold without regret. That was my flavor text. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that one I was really considering like it's keeping on to stuff. It's not necessarily because greed as like a general concept, like a bunch of cards are gonna have greed, right? Like that's obvious. But this one was really like
Yeah.
you want to hold, like you want to keep stuff of your own, and that's a you it, like once you
Yeah.
take the theme and make it like specific enough, you can build enough cards for the protocol off of it. Now, obviously, there's like 1 through potentially 6, depending on what cards you have in there. What do you think about like value for stuff? Like, what do you look for in like a 0 versus like a 4 or 6 or whatever? And how's that different for you?
So first off, I would say a core tenet of my philosophy is restraint.
Hmm.
It's easier to buff. It always feels like it's easier to buff than it is to nerf, and it doesn't feel as bad to buff something than it does to nerf
Oh
something,
yeah,
right?
no,
You're
totally,
much
right?
more willing to deliver a buff. So, in my opinion, it's you should absolutely like restrain yourself and then go beyond that. So like on a 0, what am I looking for? I'm looking for something that's comparable, maybe like well, it depends, right? Something a little more powerful than the speed 0 is originally, because speed 0 can be very powerful in the right combinations,
Hmm.
but it takes time to figure it out.
True.
And also, and yeah, so jumping a little more powerful. Like let's take a peek at some of the stuff I made. Um, yeah, I mean, so zeros are the cards that I'm like, it's okay to go a little crazy, but you don't want to go that crazy. The other thing is zero, right? Like I'm looking so for a power level, definitely the most powerful card, but like nothing. I don't want to make anything game breaking.
Yeah,
Game
no, that's
breaking, I
fair.
think, is bad. You can do really fun and unique stuff, and you can zeros. I think if you want to introduce something that stretches the games, do it in a 0.
I know I totally agree. Like, um, usually I'll start off a concept right, and it has some sort of idea that's maybe pushing the boundaries a bit. Like I know for famine, right? It's like reduce your opponent's hand size to 3, and obviously that's like ridiculous. Um, so sometimes if you have a really crazy idea, you want to balance it out with the other cards. But I agree that like a 0 is your place to really like mess with the game a bit and reshape how a lot of cards work. I think there's an interesting discussion there then between like how do you weigh the merits of a 0 versus a 1, and I'm just gonna like quickly say for me at least like 1 cards usually like sometimes you can feel that they're a bit less crazy or like a little underwhelming, but most of the time they're honestly frankly like gameplay wise just as impactful. The thing for me is that I find in a lot of 1 cards it's going to be a bit more like how do I describe this? For a lot of 1 cards at least, I see a lot of start and end effects. Obviously, a lot of zeros have
Yeah.
that, but the way I take that is at least for a 0, they
One
want it to
cards
be
tend to be more one cards tend to be more positional. They often have a lot of buffs that
yeah,
lead to that surround a core tenet of the protocol.
Yes, exactly. Whereas like a zero I see as a bit more like um overall
Almost
influential, I
augmentory.
guess if that makes sense. Like a one's gonna have a specific thing it does. A zero could be a bit grander on the scale of things.
Yeah, zeros are almost augmentory. Zeros, I think, help
Yeah, yeah.
protocols pivot a little bit almost as well. They kind of help body, they basically help body out the protocol in the spot that they're missing.
I
Now,
agree.
interesting by the way that you go with that. The way I work on ones is slightly different.
Hmm.
Um,
What do you think?
so intrinsically, the jump in value from a zero to a one is infinite because intrinsically the card is doing something by existing as a
Hmm.
one, whereas
Yeah,
as
well,
a
yeah,
zero it's
exactly.
not. And I think that completely changes how zeros and ones are designed. And actually, I think this is so. Actually, I think in the end, I do end up playing ones a bit more positional, but it's because the idea of right, the ones right. The thing about a zero is its effect should entirely encapsulates the card, so its effect has to be something astounding, or it
Exactly.
has
Yeah.
to be something based around value because that entirely encapsulates the card. And I there's actually this fat on the card preview for Clarity Zero. Yang actually discussed something really interesting, which is why he made Clarity Zero a zero,
Hmm.
and it's because Clarity Zero's effect has something to do with essentially the points on the board,
Oh,
and
interesting.
he said that, and he basically said that because it has something to do with the value on the board, he made it a zero so that that is the entire card's identity. Because think about it, if Clarity Zero was instead Clarity One, you would think about it, right? You would no longer think about it as this card's value is equal to the cards in my hand. Because even though that's not what the text says, that's logically how you think about
Yeah,
it.
true.
But if it's a one, it would be the what it would fundamentally be a one that gains me this much value. Whereas
Hmm.
because it's a zero, its entire identity is contained with it. Its entire value identity is contained within that. So that's an interesting side point I want to say for zeros.
Yeah.
And you can't, which is why you can't do that for ones. But going back to how ones play, going back to how ones kind of the idea of ones being more positional emerges, it's because they give you value on the board.
Yeah.
And so ones can often be something like a stalling tactic, where if you use the one as a stalling tactic, you're fundamentally like you can't do that with zeros. You're not getting anything out of a zero that kind of halts the game, doesn't give the player who played it much.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
one the game intrinsically does.
And I think there's an argument to be made there too, where like your opponent is almost always going to try and flip a zero, and that's just something you accept. With a one, there's sometimes a debate of like, does it merit with how good it is being flipped? And I think that's an interesting conversation. Like it's minor, but sometimes you are just kind of okay. What the heck is this? Sometimes you're okay with things just playing out as a one, especially like because there's some ones that are obviously crazy, but there's some that are frankly not all that good. Which I think is like interesting. But then going back to what you said, like
No.
you're right. I think at least for what I'm looking at with the card database, like zeros tend to be very value based. Ones are they lean into the effect side of things a bit greater. And I think that's an important
Yeah.
distinction. You know what I mean?
It is. It is really interesting. Zeros are really interesting because it is the entire card is encapsulated within
Hmm.
whatever is going on in the card, and that also is it's interesting because it actually I think that's another thing that enables the zeros to be the cards that have the most unique effects on them. Not only because they have least value means that you have to compensate by the highest
Yeah, they
power,
have to like justify it somehow.
but also because unlike every other card, which part of its identity is tied in being there. A zero card's identity is purely tied in what it does, and so you can really make the card pop with its
Hmm.
effect in a way that you can't with any other card.
Yeah, right. Um, like I always get drawn into Death One just because I think it's very interesting. It's obviously draw one, delete this card. It's one of the only cards in my opinion that's not a zero, where it's very posed on like a later impact. I guess if that makes like a Death One, you're effectively
Yeah,
you're basically giving up a turn and then potentially like
but
the
then you get it
value of
back later.
one. Yeah, but like you can potentially do something even better than that turn you wasted and the
Yeah.
value of one you might be losing.
And in
Um,
a sense, you can undo your opponent's turn because that's actually by an interesting point I want to bring up about deleting,
mm,
is that deleting in a sense is completely taking back an opponent's turn because
mm,
outside of the fact that you may trigger an effect that your opponent did, which could also be detrimental to them.
mm,
Um, you literally just because it's an entire turn to put a card down, and so now you
yeah.
undo that, and that's huge.
Mm.
So that makes the death one just insane.
I agree with you. I think obviously deleting suffers a tiny bit just from like water, life, smoke. Now where like you play multiple cards in one turn. I do
Yeah.
agree with you though, right? Like deleting is deleting is very detrimental to how they progress through the game, right? Like if they have to discard, they're just gonna refresh. That's not as big a whoop, unless they lose something that's important. But with deleting, right? Like you're losing an advantage, and your opponent's probably gaining as well. So that's kind of rough.
Yeah. But anyways, going back on topic.
Should we go to
Uh,
ones? Are we good with that, or do we want to keep
I
talking?
think we're good with ones.
Okay,
I think we're good
twos
with
are
ones.
like the trash can of all the cards, because in my opinion, most twos really do not live up to the value they present.
I think this finally there's two reasons for that. One, it's because it's the value of a right. Two
Yeah,
is
yeah,
kind of just the generic. It's the baseline value,
yes,
right? It
exactly.
is it is the value that everything else is balanced around. But more
Hmm.
importantly, I think the two ends up being the fall guy when the one and the zero are really
I
strong.
agree. I totally agree. I was thinking exactly that. And stuff like Spirit is a great one, right? It's just flip a card.
Yeah,
That's like
exactly.
useless. Um,
Honestly, metal's also one with I think it's interesting because the metal to the two is actually the fall guy for the three, but
yeah,
still.
exactly. Yeah, like Metal 2 is just a very easy card to get rid of. What else is there? We said Spirit. Speed is kind of another one. Like, that's just not. Like, when I think
Yeah,
Speed, I don't think the Speed 2, usually.
I think speed three and speed zero.
Yeah,
Let's be
exactly.
real.
But there's some that are better, right? Like, um, Water's pretty decent.
Yeah, Waters two is good.
Light is good.
Psychics two.
Psychic 2, yeah.
Lights two.
It's
Honestly,
Draw 2.
wait, light.
I
No,
get
I'm thinking of the three.
I get a lot of
Oh
stuff out of
no,
that.
the lights two is good. Sorry, I was thinking of the
Yeah.
light three.
Oh, I hear
It's
you.
been like a couple weeks.
No,
It's
you're
been a
good.
while.
Um,
Yeah.
what else? But then there's stuff like Fear, right? Where it's return one of your opponent's cards. Like that's situational. That's not easy
Hey,
to get use out of.
Hey Green, I'm gonna say if you're gonna reference the main two stuff, I haven't had time to screw
That
around with that stuff, so
that's why I
you're
sent
gonna
you
have to describe this
the
one.
thing, and you can filter by.
That's true. That's true. I should
The
probably just take a look at
I
that.
think you're viewing at least part of this on phones. So that's kind of rough. Um,
Yeah.
all right. Do you want to move on to, or is there anything else about twos that's like unique? Let me think.
Um, Not really.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing to me is I don't know if there's a single, like you know how some cards will get cut to add a six. I don't know if there's a single deck that cuts the two.
That's true. It's always the three, or
Sometimes
like it's
yeah,
always the
sometimes
three or
the
the
four,
zero.
and then love is the zero, which is like definitely a
Yeah.
statement. Um,
Yeah. No, it's actually here's the, if you think I don't this is something that people don't quite think about, I think as often.
hmm.
Is how much value is there actually in a protocol? And if you think about it from that, cutting the zero to add a six is actually a mind-boggling play because you're adding six possible value to a protocol. Ignoring face downs, and if you're counting face downs, you're still adding four value to a protocol, which is
Yeah, no,
bonkers.
that is true. You're right. The only problem I find usually is that love isn't a protocol where I find it needs that.
Interesting, actually. I feel like actually no, you're right though. It's
Like
so
I generally
weird
compile
because
it pretty fast off the bat. Like the six, the four, the three, they're all reasonably solid. Like
I
hold down
know.
the four cards.
I know it's actually kind of weird because you
Yeah,
really wouldn't get it like because every time you look at the cards, they all kind of feel and the
yeah.
one feels so
Well,
influential,
that's why
and
I
then you
agree
play
though
it and
that
you
because they all feel like making one a zero would be kind of like like you're. It feels like
yeah
they need some value
no
to compensate.
no I understand that, but what I'm about to say is that like then you play a card, and then you play the game, and all the others they just end up complementing each other really nicely.
Yeah,
But
that
no,
is true.
you're right. There is also no card that has zero potential,
All
so that's a yeah. Well, except
right.
for the one. I'm gonna be real. The one has zero potential.
Yeah, that's sort of fair. All right, threes. Threes are very interesting. I think threes have the most inconsistency across balancing of everything.
True.
Um,
Threes are just kind of hey, because I think actually I think the best way to talk about a threes is to talk about threes last. Threes
oh
can
yeah,
only be
agree.
understood when you understand everything else. So I think we should skip threes for now and
Yeah,
go to
let's
four.
skip them.
But
Come back.
I think we should quickly touch about sixes and fives, because sixes and fives are really simple.
Yeah,
Fives are
sure.
discard a card.
Sounds good. Yeah, all
Fives are
fives are gonna
always
be
discard a
discarded card,
card.
and everything has to has have this, which I think is mildly significant. Because
It's I like it.
yes, and in my humble opinion, it buffs a select few protocols inherently. Obviously, stuff like Plague, where your opponent has to discard, that's advantageous. But I do think there's other
Yes.
protocols where they actually don't lean on the five as heavily. I.e., for example, Metal, and that's another good
Yeah.
discard, like trash card if you need it. That's something worth
It
considering
also
actually. Like sometimes some
true.
protocols obviously need their five like desperately. I would say fire
Yeah,
usually
I
needs
think
its five pretty decently.
most effect-based protocols and most of the more ephemeral style protocols
Yeah,
really need the five, because I think
exactly.
the five just gameplay wise, it's a really good decision. It's all
Mm.
like almost a brilliant decision because it adds just a level, because the game would be so chaotic without the fact that every five does the same thing.
I agree. I think it would be a lot harder to follow. And then like there's
Yeah,
some benefit to it on like a level where it cycles stuff faster as well, which you know
true.
if you have all good cards, you kind of get annoyed by that. But I think there's value to that. Otherwise, I think games would stall out like
No,
way
I
faster.
agree. I absolutely agree.
I mean, and
Yeah,
obviously, refresh is like a mechanic that I don't think you could ever not include, but like just it pairs well. That's what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
All right, should we do
No, yeah,
sixes?
I do I really like the card economy in Compile,
Yeah, totally.
especially in the main one. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
but
main two is like a compliment. You know what I mean? Like it it
it doesn't feel complete.
it feels a little weird, but I
It
think
feels
once we
complete.
get like, I'm interested to see how main three works. Frankly, I think a lot
Yeah,
of my custom stuff kind of works in like a main three style where like it's definitely a bit off the rails, but I tried to merge in some cool new effects and some like basic synergy stuff, like like flip a card, draw cards,
hold
that
up.
kind of thing.
I will say hold that thought, because I think that was a really interesting spot where the differences between our cards will
Mm.
rise. So hold that thought.
All right, sounds good.
Going to sixes really quickly.
Yep.
Sixes are basically they're just bad. The idea, well,
Oh
sixes
wait,
are good, but
well yeah.
the idea is that but it's really funny because sorry, Green. It's really funny we're saying this because I remember I was I used to think six is bad and I was defending them against Jesus. So that's really funny. But
That
yeah,
is
what I mean
funny.
is that the effect of a six
Is
is always,
detrimental.
because if a five is already bad, the effect of a six is literally supposed to be detrimental. It's interesting because in main one it's more of an active detriment, whereas in main two it's more of a passive detriment.
Yeah, true.
Something you'll notice in the cards.
Hmm.
But the idea is, if it's so swingy, there has to be something that makes it slightly worse to play than just I play a giant, get screwed.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think there is something to be said where like, inherently playing a six is a tiny bit of a gamble because usually if you're playing it, it, I would say generally you're a bit exposed when you play a six, because it can be flipped, shifted, like deleted, any number of things, and that it's a bit of a desperate move in my humble opinion, but it can also
It
pay
can
off
be.
great.
Yes. The other thing I will say is actually, in my opinion, the sixes tend to be one of the more thematic cards.
I do agree. I agree.
Yeah. The
Um,
six, right? Six. I would put six somewhere between 0 and 1 when it comes to how thematic it is.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
I will
talk about the
say,
sixes are really. Hmm.
like, so, this is a bit ironic to me, but usually, even though the sixes have like a negative effect, I find it can still, a lot of them can work for you. Like metal, corruption,
Yeah.
gravity. Gravity, honestly, is like really good. Gravity is a good
Gravity's.
effect,
It's
like
not a
generally.
downside.
It's not a
It's not a
downside if
downside.
you've played it enough. Um, Ice
Yeah.
isn't too bad. Love is like, whatever. They're gonna draw those. Peace is kind of
Love.
bad. Peace is kind of
Yeah.
bad, but once you cover
Peace
it, you're
is kind
fine.
of bad. Yeah. Ice is good if you're playing something like Peace.
Yeah, true.
Peace is good if you're playing. Peace 6 is specifically good because of the rest of Peace. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it's actually horrible. It's only good because pieces. What if Hellbent was right? What if you brought Hellbent to compile?
Yeah, true.
So
Um, and then
yeah,
apparently diversity is a six. It just says if there's not at least three different protocols on the field, delete this card. That
oh
kind of
yeah, I don't
sucks
like
because
that.
that could like come back to bite you.
No,
But
it doesn't. It doesn't unless someone compiles. It
yeah,
really doesn't because you have three protocols on your side. So if you have
yeah,
a card in every line, you're fine. And
exactly.
it's very easy to maintain one card in every line,
Yeah, you're right. That it's really not too
especially when
bad
one of
then.
them is that six.
Um,
Yeah, it's probably the freest six outside of maybe the gravity six.
yeah, yeah. And then courage is like a last ditch thing. I think courage is very thematic, frankly.
What
Um,
does the courage six do again?
if your
Hold up.
opponent has a higher value in this line, flip this card. I really like that actually. I think that's
Oh,
fun,
I like that as
and
well. It's very thematic.
it's the correct strategy to play a six where you want to play it last if you can.
Hmm.
Um, all right.
Yeah,
Should we?
it's really interesting. Yeah.
No, go
Anyways,
ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it's really interesting because it honestly I already forgot my thought. It wasn't one that's anything important. Yeah. Um, cool. So now go fours are a little more nuanced than fives, I think. So I remember on one of because the one like at the start when Compile was like early and just after Shut Up and Sit Down had done the review of Compile Main One.
Hmm.
There was a there I was scouring the internet for like gameplay, compile gameplay, and
Yeah.
I found like one which had the devs in it, and they said something interesting about fours, which is basically sticks with me and actually heavily influences my opinion on how to do fours,
Yeah.
which is that fours are supposed to be situational.
I can
Um,
kind of see that. Yeah.
yeah, the idea is a four is not the idea is the effective because it's always here's the thing, it's almost as big as a five. So you're mostly fours are value plays, but then sometimes their effects can also be very useful. And I think the situational idea is very visible, specifically in peace.
Oh yeah,
I just
totally.
want to say,
I agree. Yeah. Like
yes,
that's very specific. I do like the idea of having some protocols become a bit more counter to others. I think
counter picks.
yeah, yeah. If that goes too far, that
Yeah,
might be a problem. But I do sort of like that idea a bit. At
it's
least to
interesting.
some degree.
Uh, Actually, looking back on it, I think it's actually good design just because peace really needs some defense against being against forced discard because it has
Yeah. Right. So that makes
nothing.
sense. Yeah. I know
Forced
that.
discard is like, oh well, I guess I'll die.
Exactly.
Um, Yeah, but I guess it has the zero is fine with it though,
Yeah.
and or maybe it's the one I can't remember. I don't know.
I forget.
Um,
Um.
yeah,
Yeah. No. I always thought of force pretty similarly, where it's like it's just a really weak effect. And
yeah.
occasionally helps balance out some other aspects. Like fire is pretty good. Light is pretty
Fire's Four
meh.
is really good.
Fire 4 is really
Light's
good.
Four is okay.
Honestly
Yeah,
though,
Fire Four.
you want to know what I think the
Sorry,
best 4 in the game is?
it's Death Four, right? You really like Death Four?
Oh well, actually I do really like Death 4. I think Death 4 is cruelly underrated in my opinion. Um, I think though you either have to say ice, which is just it can't be flipped, or
Oh, yeah, that's absurd.
yeah, in my opinion, well actually mirror is also pretty good.
Yeah, actually, if we're talking, sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
If we're talking about main two, I want to say I believe that I don't think I have any confirmation on this, but I think main two or there might have been one of the card previews, but main two took the route of make some of the fours really strong in exchange for like making the two the fall guy or making one of the ones or zeros the fall guy.
That's
So
fair.
basically, they took the effect from the one or the zero and just made it an intrinsically bad card
Hmm.
to then slap that on the four and make the four really good. Because I think because there's a few good, there's a couple really good fours in main two.
That is true. Like well, chaos is good, but obviously a little annoying. Clarity is great.
I mean,
Fear is pretty
yeah.
all right. Like it's just your opponent discards one random card. That's actually pretty good. Ice just it
On
can't
yeah,
be
honestly,
flipped.
yeah,
What else?
it's so good. Ice Four is so good.
It
Ice Four is
is very
insane.
especially like of all the protocols to have a six, that one especially like 100% was the right call on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mirror, you know your opponent draws, you draw. I like that. Um, War is kind of just a worse version of Fear 4, and that's fine. Um, Peace, we went over that. Time is kind of nice. It just lets you like adjust stuff a little bit. It's just draw two and then discard two. Um,
Yeah, it's good.
and then smoke
It's
is shift.
I think there's a magic card that does the same thing. I think Faithless Looting,
Oh, sick.
and it's a staple.
Yeah,
So
right. Like
yeah,
that flexibility is just nice, and especially because you're in this game, you're
yeah,
getting like a decent amount of value on the board. That's good.
exactly.
Um, yeah. So those are all pretty good. Um,
Yeah,
and then I think like main one also had a decent amount of stuff. Main one had a few worse ones in my opinion, but honestly, they still
fair.
weren't even that intolerable.
There were some. Honestly, even main one has some really good
Yeah,
fours.
actually
Looking
it
at you,
does.
water four.
Like life is good, plague, water, psychic is all right. Psychic is honestly one of the lower ones, but it's still not terrible.
Psychic's the weak one of the weaker fours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
speed is also a little weak. Um,
yeah,
and then light is honestly light's not bad. It just like I never really play it for the effect. I just play it for the value.
yeah. But
Um,
then the effect ends up coming in handy.
yeah, I like yeah exactly, and like that's not like a terrible thing to have. Gravity is
Yeah,
honestly pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie. Gravity is good. Um,
gravity four is yeah, shift face down. It's
yeah,
I mean it is. I think the main one four has really hit the situational mark.
I
Like it
agree.
really hit the just situational enough, but not too situational.
Except for death, which is broken, and everybody needs to wake up and realize that. Like, dude, it's actually insane. I'm not kidding. This card is nuts.
All right, all right.
Um, okay, but
Yeah.
anyways, are we finally moving on to the threes?
Finally to get so now the reason we hit everything else except for the threes is because the threes are quite like threes are quite literally everything that doesn't fit into one of the other buckets, or if there's an
Hmm.
effect that they wanted to put on a two, but the two was already taken, you
Hmm.
put it on the three.
True.
That's the design philosophy of the three.
I would say
Hold
also,
on one moment.
I find that threes are like,
One
how do I describe
one
this?
moment. I gotta mute.
Hmm.
I'm back. Sorry.
Very good. That gave me a chance to like shape my ideas, which is good. I think that threes are actually pretty impressively effect based for how high value they are.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that. I agree.
yeah, and like I definitely the most variability, right? Like, um, there's some that are like just all right. Like light threes, like sometimes you use that, sometimes you just never do. Um,
Yeah.
death three, like delete one face down. Actually, sometimes you get use out of that, but sometimes your opponent's just not playing
But
that kind of thing, and it's not super useful. But
Yeah,
fire
but if you
three,
want a good three,
yeah,
fire three,
fire
speed
three.
three, oh my god.
Hate three is good, but people always target it, which is rough.
Yeah,
That is threes run into the slight problem, though not too bad. Of like, your opponent by flipping it does also benefit themselves. Like aside from just covering the like getting
yeah, there is an
the effect
intrinsic
blocked.
value.
Yes, exactly. So that's something worth considering. But honestly, I still think threes are usually like decently good overall. I think they play the utility man kind of like twos, except like better. Um,
Yeah, no, I mean they genuinely are. They're everything that didn't make it on one of the other cards.
True, but I don't even think that's in like a push to the side
It's
kind of
not in a
way.
bad way.
I think
Yeah,
sometimes it's the two wanted that, and then the three got it anyways, and then the two like cried in the corner because it didn't get what it wanted.
honestly, yeah. I mean threes are quite generally. It wasn't strong enough to be a zero or a one.
Hmm.
It wasn't that it wasn't weak, so it's not a four or five or a six. It's not detrimental, so it's not a six.
Hmm.
Um, and perhaps it's just a little too weak to be a two, or perhaps it's a little too powerful to be a two. So
Yeah,
then they put it on a three.
I will say as well. I forget. I think you were talking about this for the twos, but honestly, I find the threes tend to be the thing that like fill in the cracks to a lot of protocols. Like, um, I think.
I was saying it was the zeros actually, but
Oh yeah, no, I see what you mean. I think that zeros like advance kind of like the core part of the protocol though. Just in like the
I guess that's fair. Yeah,
like those like hexagonal or like pentagon like stat grids or whatever where it's like each thing is moving out towards one of the corners.
mm,
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
No, I do not.
oh, that's rough. I'll maybe show you like an image later, but basically just it feels like let's say you had like a graph or something, and they're all like just each aspect of a protocol or like feel of it or whatever is on that graph. I feel
Mhm.
like zeros really set the tone for is it going to be a draw protocol? Is it going to be like a shift? Is it going to be delete? Like that sort of thing. Um,
Mhm.
and like give you an idea of it. But then, or sorry, zeros. I said zero, right? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then
Yes.
threes are like um, that's going to come with inherent downsides, and sometimes the three can be the thing that like backs that up.
Perhaps. Yeah, I see. I see. Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, yeah. Threes really are. They threes are the most versatile,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
we
So,
we covered all of
do you
those.
have any, do you have any more thoughts on the numbers?
Um, I think number wise it all makes sense. Obviously I overall like the idea of compiling and how that functions and all. What else is there?
Yes. Because if we're done with the numbers, do you remember that thought that I told you to hold?
Yes, maybe.
Bring it back.
You should
It's
tell me
time.
what it was just in case.
It was some. I honestly kind only half remember what it was. I just want to go through the whole
You were
thought.
asking me because you forgot.
Yes.
Um,
Um.
it was how you
Okay.
construct cards versus how I do.
Yeah. Okay. So, right. Oh no, it was you were talking about how in zero. Right. We were talking about zeros, and you were talking about how you like how zeros. You'll try and right. You'll put a more fun effect on a zero. So
Yeah.
I think, and so this is what this plugs into what I was right. But just before we hop into the call, I was saying how this is how the different of ways we approach card design.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this strikes at the core of it. Yeah, I really think so. Like when it comes to your really fun effects, what do you do?
Like how I think of them or what I would.
Yeah, how do you approach creating these effects? Let's take a peek at some of your custom cards.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Um,
I'm on space right now,
uh,
but we can go to something else if you want.
I mean, I'm just scrolling up right now,
Okay,
so
yeah.
I'm gonna hit something like I have hit like lies first.
Okay, yeah, let's go to lies.
No, 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 not lies. I'm trying to find a better one.
I've been looking at famine. If you want that, I feel like that's a good case study. But
Yeah, I feel like yeah,
or
Famine's
what about
probably
can
good.
can we go to storm?
Ooh, Storm, going. Yeah, I'll actually for Storm, I have to scroll really up, so I'm just gonna go to your link.
I feel like yeah. Sorry.
Uh, uh,
Storm's one where I struck the four and gave it a six, so I think that's also an interesting little tidbit there.
oh, interesting. I have not taken a peek at it
Yeah.
since.
Um,
Where is Storm in your
are
doc?
you on the dock? It's between
Oh, I saw
revival
it.
and
I found
quicksand.
it.
Yeah. Um,
Yes.
this is a really good one to show you my methodology, by the way. Because I work off like a bit by feel, a bit by um, thinking roughly about how other zeros function, and then really just leaning heavily into my theming. Because like storm,
I
strike from
see.
above, right? I'm like, okay, from above, like delete one face down covered or uncovered card from each line. That's Loki really powerful as I'm realizing it. But
It's a better Death Zero.
to a degree, yeah.
Literally. Oh, no, face down. My bad. No, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, face down. Okay, I knew I
I
added
didn't.
something in there to make it not like ridiculous. Um,
Yeah.
um, yeah, admittedly that's a thing I'm working on, like balancing a bit. But I think definitely a huge theme of my stuff is my zeros are like they'll have some middle, some top
They're
effects. My
fun.
my ones very much have a lot of top effects and sometimes bottom.
Your cards do have a lot of text.
Yes.
But they're fun. They're fun. I will say that. Yeah, I think actually if you scroll one up, I know it's not completely finished yet,
Oh, revival.
but
Yeah, revival is
yeah,
very weird, but if you want to go through it, we can.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's actually exactly why I want to go to. If we look
Yeah.
at the zero or at the middle effect, is uncompile an opponent's protocol. All cards in that line are deleted as if compiling. This card leaves the game after being used. Um, and this, so this is really interesting. So what you did here is you picked right. This card contains two things that are not contained in the base game,
Yes, exactly.
right?
Which is why it feels very weird, but I don't hate the idea because in my head,
Yes,
those are both extreme enough. One to not make it into the base game, and two, therefore, to merit being the like antitheses of each other.
I see. Interesting. See, and so this is where we diverge. I don't want to stray that far from the base game because I could just play Magic.
I hear you. That is mostly why this is still not a fully fleshed out thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because the thing is, and this is, well, I don't want to say the thing is because that's too final. This is all wishy-washy and this is all subjective. Compile's a very snappy game.
Yeah, true, true.
It's very snappy and it's small. And it's small and it's not cluttered. Because like in Magic, the amount of key right there's right the thing is in Magic, the devs are like, hey, I have an idea for an effect that I think could be fun. Let's make it.
Yeah, and then
And then it
they
happens.
add like 18 because there's in Magic there's just so much stuff as well. Like I know people complain about the compile errata, but like Magic is just insane. There's so many things you can't even keep track of how
The
the
official
inconsistencies.
the official rules codex, I'm not talking about subcategories. These are major right, primary categories. 800. Over 800,
Jesus,
sorry.
you're talking
Yes,
rules or pages?
rules.
Okay, thank God. That's
No,
still that's
no,
still a lot.
no, Matt. Categories of rules.
Oh
Not
what?
subcategories of rules and
Oh
not
thank
subcategories of subcategories. Categories.
thank God I don't play Magic as much. That would be terrible. Um,
Yes, I don't mean to scare you players away. Most of them are like covering niche cases. Others are like defining because there's so many different ways to play Magic. So a lot of them are defining the rules for different ways to
oh
play
yeah, yeah.
Magic.
That's what
So
I think.
you don't
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, and a lot of them are also defining keywords. And that is the
Yeah.
difference, right? That's what I feel. Because like over here, right? And if we take a look at revival and preservation,
Hmm.
uncompile an opponent's protocol. You created a new keyword, uncompile. Then this card leaves the game after being used. Magic has a similar thing. It used to be called, right, remove this card from the game,
Hmm.
but it became so common that a word an effect was created for it called exile.
Oh yeah.
Um, so this is another sort of keyword thing, right? Each of these actions are distinct enough from the game, or and like if something takes too many words to describe, it needs to be a separate keyword so that it can actually fit on the card.
I see
The
what you're
problem is
saying.
then you
Yeah.
get feature creep, right? The problem
True.
is then you start you complex the game gets more and more complex and that kind of stuff. So in right, so now my approach to creating cards and compile, and this is really I just wanted to really discuss the difference what right between how me and you approach this because
Hmm.
I thought that was really fun. I really like your approach, but I
Hmm.
will stick to my
Yeah,
approach.
you're not trying to
But
have you saw that in the Discord, right? That one guy who showed like the longest Yu-Gi-Oh card text and it's like 18 lines and it like bleeds off the card.
yeah, exactly.
Like
No,
I
there's
understand
similar
you
stuff in
nobody
Magic.
wants that to happen for sure.
No, yeah, yeah. So there's so in compile the I think so the way I approach compile cards are KISS, right, which is kind of it's a programming acronym. It stands for keep it simple, stupid. So, right, that is so kiss is really important, and then I think just try and use as much the vocabulary that already exists,
Yeah, yeah.
and so combined with kiss, that does become really restrictive what you can do, but it also definitely creates it means that compile feels cohesive.
I agree. And like there's already the pretty clean set of stuff, right? Like flip, shift, delete, discard,
Exactly.
draw, refresh. Like honestly, there's not even much else to list past that. So I agree that like
And
because
keeping sort of the suite of actions that not only keeping the suite of actions that limited, but keeping sort of the ways
mm-hmm,
that you think about like there are certain ways that actions just can't be used right now
mm-hmm.
but right there should but that's not because but that's just because of things like action economy and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's like you can print if you were to chain a certain set of words on a card that's completely within the current vocabulary of compile, you could get something that you would never be able to do otherwise.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
I think doing something like that, be cautious with it. Don't not do it. After all, each protocol has to feel distinct,
Hmm.
but do not go crazy with it,
Yeah. No. That's
right?
fair. That's
E-
fair.
yeah. This goes back to like what I was saying at the start of always just be reserved.
Yeah. Um. What was I gonna say? I do think compile is on like a different level than magic. Just in, I think it's a tight enough core idea that it won't ever be able to creep to similar levels of like bloat. Um, I do think you're right that like you can introduce a bunch of different ways for how the game and its mechanics should function, but it's not necessarily that like all of those best fit within the game as a whole.
Yeah.
So that's probably like I imagine Michael Yang like has like pulls his hair out trying to figure out or
Trying to figure out what feels like it fits in the game.
yeah,
That's
exactly. And
true.
like main 2 is an interesting case study in that, right? Because there is some stuff that's pretty new, but frankly in my opinion
Yes.
a lot less of it was like completely out there than I expected.
Yeah, honestly, no, I agree with that. I thought corruption was gonna be out
Yeah,
there
like
with the zero.
everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, corruption is gonna be crazy," and then like the 0 is probably the craziest card in all of main 2, and it's not even like that insane.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, time is actually I think the craze. Just not it. I guess, but that's
Yeah.
honestly just
I,
because
I
it's
was I was a
overpowered.
bit worried about how time was gonna function. I think it's fine, but that I think time is a very good example of that, right? Where it's
Time
like
is
the game is changing like pretty noticeably from that inclusion, and you have to
yeah,
decide like how to do that.
yeah. Though to be fair, time is the fire of main two.
I think that's fair. And then you have your other stuff like smoke is just like the water or like the life of main 2. Um,
Yeah,
I honestly
fun mix of.
I'm trying to think about what ice would be. It's a very hold down the fort kind of thing, so maybe like
Well, no, main two is supposed to be distinct from main one. It's
that's
not,
true.
especially. I think it's really hard to compare main two to main one when main two has like half as much interaction,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
or
just
the interaction that is there is slower.
yeah. Well, mentioning that ice was originally talked in like main 1 discussions, so to me, it almost feels nice then that it feels more similar to main 1 than some of the others.
Yeah, I think actually Fear feels like a very middling main one protocol that excels
Agreed.
in main two just because there's nothing else that fills because there's not much else that fills the main one niche.
True. Fear
Like
feels like
Fear gives you instance.
yeah. Like, do we want to discuss like the balance of stuff real quick? I mean, we've already done main 1 like tier list. We know all that.
I mean honestly we can I think we can discuss that in like
Yeah, wrap it
half an
up for
hour when
now.
we finish the recording.
Yeah, no,
But
that's
for
valid.
now, yeah, I mean we're here to discuss creating cards. So
True, true.
and I feel like I've yapped a lot this. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
like 70% of this discussion. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, I got some stuff into. I think
I mean yeah, but
do we want to
so
wrap up our? Should we wrap up our final thoughts on? Because I think there's also something to be said for specifically the names of cards and what you're like making sure your theming doesn't intrude on other cards. Like my example for that is envy, right? Because like it was so hard to do envy without just copying love, and I think I eventually
that's
found a way to like
fair.
make it a little more brutal, I guess.
Actually, now, yeah, I guess that's fair. Actually, now I want to do an NV.
Oh, go ahead. Like you see what my struggle
Yeah.
was, right? Like it'd be so easy to just rip off like, oh, you steal a card from your opponent. Wow, that's so original. And it's like, well, I
I
can't I
think the
can't do
way to
that.
do yeah, the way to do NV is to, and I know you already did it. I just can't remember what you did for your
Yeah,
cards. I'm
no,
sorry,
like tell me what you would
but
have done.
the
That's
way so love always has had this group hug aspect to it,
okay, yeah.
right? Love is kind of about like to a certain extent. The idea is it's there's a give and a take in every card, and NV should just be take.
True, yeah. Um
Envy should be like a weird mix of bad mirror and love.
yeah, I mean honestly that's kind of what I did. And I think that's an aspect of the game I think is very easy and very safe thematically, like for the game's health as a whole to include, is comparison stuff. Like courage obviously is like a headway into that, right? Which you're comparing your opponents versus
Mhm.
yours. I think they should just go full steam with that. Because you're already doing the math of that anyways, right? You're already saying like, oh, they have 9
That's
or whatever, I have 7.
true.
Like, you know what I mean? That's already a very
For control, you're always doing that
yeah,
math.
exactly. So it's a very healthy mechanic because it's already there, and all they have to do is like throw that in.
Yeah.
Like that's why I like kind of like space because I'm like, okay, when this stack reaches a value of 8 or higher, let's do something with that now, right? Like that's interesting.
Yeah. That is, that's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I never actually thought about that, but that's really that's smart.
Okay. Like
Good
and
stuff.
then just as a very very like final blanket statement thing, obviously main one was very much like these
Before
are like
yeah,
earthy, more
sorry,
like physical element kind of stuff. Obviously there's like death and gravity and whatever, but like these are very like main two is a lot more conceptual, and I think that's very interesting, and I like that. So then the difficulty kind of becomes like, what do I focus on then? And I think for a lot of this, I went with like emotions, kind of similar to love, where I have like envy, avarice, like a few other things, and then I spammed a bit of like other natural disaster stuff, right? So that's been my
yeah.
approach.
So
What have you been
what you're
doing?
saying is bottom up. So what you're saying is you do bottom up development, right? You get a theme and then you try and build cards around it.
Exactly. And then like just as for how I choose my themes, I'm like, um,
I think
it's gonna have to be kind of similar to what's already been established, so it's not too
yeah.
disparate, but also like linking in a little bit with stuff like that is kind of fun. And then my new stuff,
Yeah.
right, like truth, lies, or whatever, like I'm taking that in a different direction where it's like very like social deduction esque, and I think that's a way they could go, which might be interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that is interesting. Actually, hey Matt, you remember playing Love Letter
Yeah, yeah,
in
that was fun.
physics? That was fun. We should do something like that. Wait, hold up. I actually still have Love Letter. Oh, but
Ooh,
you don't have a group. Never mind.
yeah, that's fun.
Sorry, this is a weird side tangent. You just said social deduction, and I thought
No,
about
you're
Love
good. You're
Letter.
good. I feel you. Um, but right, like there's so many
Yeah.
things you could do that it's almost a matter of what
Well,
should you do then.
yeah, and how much of it is actually okay to do?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's some things like
Yeah.
if you threw it like something that's too similar, like if you did like ocean or what, actually maybe you could do ocean.
You
Maybe.
could do ocean.
Yeah.
I think no. You'd retheme it to death. Actually, it's interesting because like when you told me to do matter, right?
Uh-huh.
And I had a hard time separating it from gravity. Surprisingly, not metal, but from gravity.
Yeah.
But then I changed it to material,
Oh, nice.
right? That
Yeah,
subtle
right.
change, and I had a lot easier of a time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So like ocean versus depth or something like that, and suddenly, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um,
So that is one way I approach it. I think honestly, so it's weird. So like great, because going back, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Let's
no, go ahead.
finish this side tangent.
Yeah.
No, you go ahead, because I'm gonna completely pivot the
Oh, okay.
conversation to
I'll
your original question towards me.
I'll just wrap with a quick like. Sometimes I come up with a name first. Like famine was really easy to come up with a name with because like that's freaking awesome. But then if a name isn't really clicking, I will try and think about what's the general theme of it that I like want. How is it going to be different, and then how can I like spin that into becoming the name? Sort of like it's either the name influences the theming or the theming influences the name. That kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's literally it's bottom up versus top down.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, and that's both a
Yeah.
programming thing and a psychology thing, which is cool as hell.
Neat. Uh, yeah. So the way I approach it, I get it. Typically, right. I'll start with a keyword.
Hmm.
I honestly won't do the little blurb at the bottom, but
You
I'll
don't do
start
the
with a
flavor
keyword.
text?
I don't. I
Pratik,
haven't.
you
I
got it.
think I
No,
just. I think.
genuinely, in terms of like helping with the creative like spirit,
Well,
you
no,
actually do.
Matt, it's green. It's
You.
green, not whatever that name you said previously was.
Oh, my
Thank you
bad.
very much.
You. Okay, we're
Oh,
just.
I just said.
Pratik, I'm sorry, we're cutting it right there. You've definitely said Matt like four
Yeah,
times. But yeah, we
I
did not.
know.
We did not make that work. Um.
Yeah. Okay.
All
My
right.
bad.
But anyways, yeah, you were
Yeah.
saying.
So yeah, I'll start. I know I don't do the blurb. I think I do the blurb in my head. I just never write it down.
Oh, you gotta write it
I
down.
just don't have space on my
It
grid.
feels so.
Um,
At Pratik, you're using freaking like Excel. You can add columns and rows.
I'm using Google Sheets.
Oh
Yes.
my god.
Um, yeah. I mean, I think I just honestly the other thing is that I don't because here's the thing. I do a bit of the I do the word,
Hmm.
I try and come up with some cards.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I'll flip it from going bottom up to top down,
Ooh, okay.
and I'll take the car and I'll see and I'll tweak and if I'm especially if I'm having a hard time, I'll just go back and tweak the word.
Yeah,
And then
fair.
if I get some card ideas that are kind of adjacent to it, I'll tweak the word, change the word. And then at the end, I'll basically go back and forth like that repeatedly until I have a protocol that I feel okay with.
Oh,
Then
interesting.
oftentimes I'll send it to you guys, and then halfway through
Yeah.
sending it to you guys, I'll be like, "This sucks. Let
I
me
know.
change this."
I feel that. I feel that. Like sometimes in like deep within the like recesses of your mind, you're like, oh, it should be this way. But then then only it's like when you flip a coin on something, right? And then you're like, wait, I don't want that option, and you pick the other one. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
exactly,
um,
exactly.
I think I do a pretty similar thing where like if stuff isn't meshing well, I try and like adjust my strategies. I will say I think I said that right. Where like the theming helps me out with what the effects are going to be, but sometimes the
Yeah,
effects then are also something that shape a bit what it's going to be. Normally, in just a matter of
yeah.
like, is it going to be positive for you or negative on your opponent? That's just you got to establish that like immediately, otherwise it's kind of a problem.
That's fair. I think yeah, I mean I just go off
Yeah.
vibes. It's
No,
bad.
I got it. Yeah. Or like, and obviously there's the in between, right, where it's like good for you and bad for them. But like, if you're
Yeah,
operating in
like
that
basically
territory,
psychic.
yeah, like fire is kind of a one I see that has that a bit. Psychic also, yeah. Where like,
Fire and psychic, yeah.
yeah, you have to be specific with that because like that, I think that can get the most out of whack, frankly. If you
Yes.
just like lose
It's
sight of what it is.
I will say it's interesting that both the main one protocols that do that, they both the negative effect is always discard.
True. I've been mixing in more delete to mine because I think I've picked up on that where I'm like, I want to destroy people and draw cards. Why can't I do that?
Yeah, but Matt, it's gonna make our hour-long games 2 hours long. I want you to think about
It's
that.
fine, it's fine. Don't tell Yusuf about this. Um,
Don't tell you that's so
so real.
real.
I mean, I honestly though, I think like discard stuff is fine. I don't think there should ever be. I think I do have a card somewhere in here that blocks discard, which is maybe not ideal. I feel like it fits thematically in
Yeah,
that. But I think delete blockers are potentially a more valid thing,
absolutely.
or at least in.
It
And I definitely have one. Oh, actually, I have a really interesting card. I don't remember where it is, um, but it is choose one card. Uh, it's like a two or something. Right? It's choose a card. Um, and your opponent can't delete that card specifically, which I think is interesting
yeah,
because then it means if that's the top card in your stack, they can't delete any from that.
hmm that's true. It is. Yeah. Honestly, I don't like that card.
Aw, I think that's
I
cool
think
though.
that card. No, it's cool, but it strays the line from what is like compile style to what is much more grindy, much more. I don't want to say the word complex,
I see, I
but
see.
like much more, like much deeper,
Hmm.
much less reserved
I
thing,
think.
right? Because like suddenly you have to attach metadata to cards, and when you start attaching
Well,
metadata to
no,
cards,
critique, critique.
I draw the line.
Critique that can't be deleted thing only happens when the card that like chooses which one can't be deleted is active.
I know, but you have to remember that.
Ah, I see what you
You have to
mean.
remember which specific card you picked, right? There's nothing on the field that will indicate it. So as soon as you start attaching metadata to cards, that's where I draw the line.
That's true. I feel like in my head that's fine as long as it's not too complicated.
No, I mean no, I agree, but
It could spiral.
it's
You're
more
right.
like if you have a yeah exactly, it could spiral. Also, I mean it's just different people see. Like I see it as a big deal, but honestly, I can totally see why someone wouldn't. And
Hmm.
stuff like that makes for really interesting, right? It makes for really fun kind of stuff.
True.
It doesn't feel like compiled to me.
I hear
And
you.
this is where I got where our differences in card design are completely based off the fact that I play Magic and you
Yeah, no, I agree. That might be a fun title to this. If I can think about how to clickbait that enough. Um,
don't.
I will say, I think like I know I usually play a little slower than you, a little more like methodical, and then you're just like hurry up. Why are you taking so long? It's for me at least, I'm usually assessing is this play gonna get me in trouble. So by that logic, I'm assessing like what cards you have up, and just in the
Yeah.
case of what we were discussing here with the like card I created, um, that one would theoretically always have to be like the most visible. Like it's an uncovered card on your board, so theoretically you should see that, and then I think it's fine of you to ask like your opponent which one is
Yeah.
undeletable.
But
Um,
the thing is, what if your opponent forgets?
they really shouldn't forget. There's only two other options.
No, I know, but well, hold up, Matt. But what if, well, right, there's two other options until one of those two other options gets covered. So there's only two other options for a turn.
No, I would say it's permanent.
No, I know, which is exactly, it's permanent, which means that once one of those two other options gets covered, that the card is still can't be deleted. It's just now also covered. You see what I'm saying?
Um, yeah, I see what you're saying. That's a little complicated.
So you have to remember the specific card. You have to remember like apathy zero or something, right?
Yeah, that's true. That especially if it gets flipped, that's a slight problem.
Yeah, oh, if it gets flipped, then it actually that's the other thing is if it gets flipped, you officially have a mark. You have a quote unquote marked card.
No, you don't.
Well, no. It's basically another method for your opponent to like that your opponent can ask instead of asking like, is that card flipped? They can ask, is that the card that couldn't be deleted?
Hmm. Honestly,
See?
that's a good loophole, and I think the solution in that case is to just make it so if the undeletable card gets flipped, it loses its protection. But that is a good point.
Yeah, but then that's another effect that you have to put on top of the card, and suddenly you get effects on effects. Right, this is why I'm saying you have to draw the line. But
Yeah, that's
no, I
fair.
mean,
Well, I
there's
mean,
probably a way that we're
frankly,
this
I
it's late and we're coming up with hacky solutions. There's
true.
probably something more elegant.
Fair point. I don't
This,
necessarily know if that's another effect that gets added. It's just it's like it's a rule of the cards.
yeah,
That's a good point though. Like
yeah.
that one's definitely a bit. I obviously should probably put more thought into those. Oh, something I did find kind of cool. I made one where I have a card with negative value, and
Hold
you
up,
can put.
Matt, I apologize. Really quickly, we should probably wrap this up the video because we're just chatting now.
Okay, that's fine. You make a good point there. So, I think we went through most of our methodology, right? Like how we do all the
I
stuff.
think
How you,
so.
yeah. Um,
I hope so.
and then obviously the copyright ethics around posting your own stuff is like this should be fine. Um,
Mm-hmm.
sadly, like I don't even care about like owning any of the work. I just straight up like want other people to also
Want to
create
have fun.
cards. Like straight up, that's my
Yeah,
whole. Um, I
that's
think it'd be
that's
cool
true.
if any of these ideas were
That's real.
taken. So like Michael Yang, go ahead, steal all my crap. It's fine.
Mr. Yang,
I just
Mr.
want to play with
Yang.
the cards, okay?
Yes, please hit us. Please hit us up.
Yes.
Um,
We're trying to organize some
maybe
tournaments, you know? Like
maybe contact you about organizing some tournaments.
exactly.
Um, at some R1 research colleges in
Yes.
you know.
I mean, well, that's
Mm,
true actually. So it's not like it's
yeah, that it is.
we're not facetious here.
Tech Technically, they are prestigious colleges, Matt.
Exactly. All right. So I think to end off the video, there's only simply one way we can end it, and well, actually, no, there's two ways we can end it. One, you mention a protocol you want to create that you think of on the spot right now, or two, you mention your favorite card in the whole game.
Okay, well, you know my favorite card in the whole game, so we're gonna go with one. Um, and I already have one. I actually thought of one earlier in the video. So,
Ooh, okay, what is it?
perfectionism.
Ooh, give me like a very quick rundown. What would it do?
Well, I honestly forgot, but thinking back on it, perfectionism would, I think, it would be something like where it is the effects are slow,
Hmm.
but they are powerful. I had an idea. There was something about because actually this was a top-down design where I had an idea. Like we were talking about something and there was some hindrance, and I was like, oh wait, hold up, but like, yes, I don't know, I can't remember. So hold up, let me think of something else because that was really a nothing burger.
You're good. You're good.
Um,
I'll think as well. Um, I was gonna propose, and this is a very ugly workshop needing one, but it'd either be like flower or pollen, and I think there's a way to make that distinct enough to where it's. Oh, actually, no. You know what I'd do instead? Um,
Hmm.
There's no really good earth cards in the game. That's why I have a bunch like dust and like magma and basalto and whatever. I
I
think
see.
Loki, it's worth throwing in mountain, um, or maybe something like altitude or whatever, and then you could really.
Hmm.
Oh, there's no snow either, which I think is a huge missed opportunity. But if there's something like
Ooh.
mountain, right? I think the best way to do it is honestly to have two ways of thinking about it. One, you want to build up value in a line, and two, um, I think it'd be interesting to have stuff like run off the mountain, so to speak. Um,
Sort of like a reverse gravity.
yeah, a bit, yeah. So it'd be like sending out to
Actually, wait.
others, and potentially,
That's a really interesting. Hold up. Sorry. Yeah. No, you keep going.
I was gonna
I
say
don't
also
want
just
to steer
potentially on
anything.
your side and your opponent's side, like it's not like specifically
Interesting.
relegated. You know what I mean? So like it'd be a bit shift heavy,
Yeah.
and then probably have a six. I think that would just thematically
It
make a
would
lot of
definitely
sense.
have a six.
Hmm.
Here's my idea for Mountain.
Yeah.
Imagine life,
Okay.
but the life zero was actually the gravity zero. Like if that makes
Whoa.
sense, right? Life or smoke, but the life zero was actually something more like the gravity zero,
I see what
where
you're saying. Yeah.
instead of right,
Yeah. I was
still
thinking.
face down focused,
Hmm.
but instead of all the cards being everywhere, the cards are in one line, and then you have to get them off.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, that's interesting. Well, in that case, for that one, I think you do make it more relegated to shifting your own cards as well,
Yeah,
and then I think thematically that works super well.
yeah. You'd want it, so it would be something. Well, the only thing is how do you balance it? And you only have six cards to make a protocol that cares about
Um.
having a lot that has enough ability to put cards in one line to be able to do that, and then has enough ability to get cards outside to be able to do that, and then has enough things that incentivize getting cards wide to want them to do that.
I
So it
think.
would be a hard
Yeah. Well, like I think that's one that could be like a combination necessary protocol, right? Where it's not
like kind of like apathy or
a
it
bit,
would be
yeah, where it's
smoke.
like it's not solely dependent on itself, but it complements others very well.
Yeah, that could work. That could
Yeah,
work. Where like you offer the wide to like smoke or life or something.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Ooh.
And we could go into a bunch of protocol combination bullcrap, which is like kind of fun, but we've been talking for like an hour, and I think we should probably wrap it up like just about here.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So what's mine? Let's see. Hmm. Um, this is an interesting idea.
Hmm.
Staring at the sticky notes on my wall, and I thought of paper
Oh, paper's a
or
great
perhaps
one actually.
papyrus.
Yeah.
Yes. Something that's so the cards would be delicate. Perhaps if this card is right, there would be probably things. So there would probably be a lot of bottom effects. Because the idea is if
Yeah.
it's covered, it gets torn up or something, right?
Hmm.
Perhaps lost
Sure,
or
sure.
misfiled, perhaps. Right, misfiled, we'll
Yeah,
miss say.
misfiled. Um,
But but otherwise, right, it would be almost something like mirror or something like time, where the idea, right, it's based on preserving something. It's
ooh.
based on preserving effects or that kind of stuff, or where right, kind of like right, we're talking about paper's role in keeping ideas around, helping spread knowledge and helping preserve knowledge. So
I
it
think
would
it would be very fun
almost
as
like
well
mountain.
if that had like a heavy retrigger component.
Oh yeah, like
Potentially.
archaeology or like research.
Yeah. Like maybe
Oh
maybe with
shit! Wait,
just
you
one
could do
card or
like
something. Like
science.
you could throw in like a water 4-esque thing where it's like throw that in the two or whatever, and then
Yeah.
see what I mean?
Ooh, you're cooking. Now
Yeah.
you're cooking.
Yeah, that could be fun. All right. I think
That could be fun.
with that fun little untapped well there, I think that's a good spot to end it off.
Untap, untap, upkeep draw.
Oh my god, you magic player. All right. That's actually a phenomenal way to end this. Thank you, Pratik. See ya.
All right. Goodbye.